I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be talking about the Ridge Classic backpack, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up so we can keep helping you find the right gear. Let's dive in. So starting off with the exterior of this bag, this is actually a tarpaulin shell. So you can tell it kind of has that really shiny, you can hear it, fairly crunchy sound to it. So it does take a little bit of getting used to if you're used to that traditional, more like nylon shell of a backpack. But the bonus of this is that it's super weatherproof. I mean, that's kind of like the whole point. You can see it exactly right here on the outside. So water just kind of flies right off this thing. It's been really rainy here recently, and I've had no issues with water getting in. Obviously, the mesh on the sides here is going to retain a little bit of water just by nature of the materials. Same with this top handle underneath. But overall, it's a really great bag if you're somewhere where you're always traveling in inclement weather, or in the winter time, even though it's snowing and it's not rain, it's still wet. So unfortunately, tarpaulin does tend to attract blemishes a little bit quicker. So you can kind of see right on the outside here, this is actually just like a chip in the material. So it's not something that you can just brush off. So, I mean, if blemishes are something that's really important to you, this might not be the material for you, but in general, the black exterior is really sleek. It kind of has like a professional air to it. You look kind of like, it's like a leather jacket in backpack form, kind of, where it's just kind of that sleek look, very professional almost. So I really like that about this here. But one thing I will note is that it gets really hot. So this material attracts sunlight obviously pretty well. So even if it was in like the passenger seat of my car, I would touch it here and it was like hot to the touch. So it's not like it was uncomfortable to put on, but just something to keep in mind if you're traveling somewhere that's like, really sunny. So the branding on this is pretty subtle apart from this on the outside here. This is actually just kind of like a rubberized raised branding. It came with a little bit of plastic on it, so I took that plastic off, and you can kind of see it still around these edges. So I wasn't able to get it off fully, or rather, I guess, well, see, look, it comes off pretty easily, but it was a little bit fussy for me to rip it off all the way. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And then on these zipper pulls, I guess I can bring that up to you too. It says the Ridge on there as well. So these are YKK AquaGuard zippers. You can see that it has like that reverse coil here. So that's just to add to that weatherproofing. And that's the same on both of these exterior zippers here. And then on the outside, we have 2 water bottle pockets, one on each side. This one kind of hit or miss with water bottle, which I'll get into in a second, just with this feature here. But flipping over on the back side, there is a luggage pass-through, and then not a ton of really actually like 0 padding here. So this is definitely just for that durability purpose. I did have some issues with carrying comfort. So the straps themselves are really comfortable. There's a decent amount of mesh padding there, but I found that it sat really heavy down low, and a part of that is has to do more so with the laptop compartment in there, which I'll get into when we get into the bag. But it really dug into like the base of my spine, almost like right where my pants, the top of my pants hit. So I went on a hike with this actually, just kind of like a leisurely hike, and it ended up like hurting from like the next day. I did have my laptop in there and it just kind of like dug in. So I found that what really helped was using these sternum straps. So these are slide adjusting, so super easy to get them to whatever place is most comfortable for you. And this really did alleviate a ton of stress off the bottom. So I found that if I was wearing it for any sort of like longer extended period of time, I always ended up buckling these just to alleviate some of that pressure. Same with the shoulder straps here. They're a little bit close together. So I found that they just kind of sat a little bit heavy depending on how much I had in here. Up top, as I mentioned before, there's this really comfortable carry handle. It's pretty sleek to the bag itself, just very standard. But what I really like is this little loop right here. I actually use this to hang it off of the side of my desk. And it's great because, sometimes you go somewhere where the hook is not big enough to hold a larger handle. And this is great, if you're in the bathroom, it's right at the back. So it's not like, you have to do that weird thing where it's like pulling. You can just hang it right here and it sits pretty flat. So I really like that feature. I think that was a nice quality of life add there. And then in terms of other blemishes, we've got a little bit of loose threading kind of at the top and sporadically throughout the inside as well. So in terms of durability, I've been testing this for 2 weeks. There's obviously a couple of different things in terms of like this blemish here, a couple loose threads. So it's something to keep in mind for, longevity purposes. And then this feature here is actually a charging port. So you can see where you would put the USB in. So I'll actually get into the inside of the bag in a moment here. But in this front zippered pocket, this is just quick grab items. So I have, my wallet in here, I have my phone in here, I have my keys in one of these back liner pockets. There's 2 pen silos and then another back liner pocket. So pretty much just an empty bucket. I like that there's a little bit of organization. I've got this charging cord that I'll end up using for this port here, and then a pair of headphones. So pretty simple stuff, just quick to access. I like that it, also features that aqua guard, so you know that, and if you get caught in a rainstorm, pretty much this whole thing is locked down tight. So on the inside of the bag, we have just kind of a standard backpack, I guess you would say, like a classic backpack style here. This is a nylon liner and then a zippered liner pocket. So in here I've got glasses cleaner and my mouse and chapstick. So pretty standard. The liner's a little bit loose, but I mean the pocket itself has a good amount of space. The bag itself is 22 liters, so you can get a fair amount in here in terms of everyday carry. I have just a flannel there, and then in this back laptop pocket, I have obviously my laptop in a sleeve and a keyboard here. So I'll show you kind of where I think it mainly runs into issues. So I have this in, I usually don't always carry a laptop sleeve just because sometimes I don't think I need it if I'm just going from home to the office. But in this case, it does add a little bit of padding on the end. So if you look at, I mean, it's kind of hard to see. Obviously, it's all black interior, so you're going to run into some visibility issues depending on how dark it is where you are. Let me see if this helps. Yeah, that's better. So this base here has a bit of foam padding. You can feel it. Well, I can feel it, you can't feel it, but I can feel it. I can show you. You can kind of see like the edges of it here, how it kind of folds over there, and then it stops. So right where my finger is, that's where the edge of it is, but there's still a little bit of space to go before this back seam, which then translates into that laptop sleeve pocket. And this is just mesh with elastic. It feels pretty secure for me. I never felt like my bag was gonna fall out. It does really only go about halfway up the bag, but pretty standard stuff. It might have been nice to see a false bottom just because of how it starts to kind of impact the carry. But then, so you've got a little bit of padding on the back here to protect your sleeve from the back of the back panel. But on the inside, when the laptop goes all the way in, it sits right down here, which then translates on the back to right here. So where my finger is, you can see my finger move. That's as far as it goes down. So when I have my laptop in here, let me see if you can see this actually. But when I have my laptop in this back sleeve, you can see that it pushes right along that seam, and that seam is what was digging into me. So there's no, padding down here to kind of make it easier. I think the intention is to have it sit on the bottom, but the way that I had it packed out more so shoved it beyond that seam. So that's what cut into me. So just something to keep in mind. Like I said, the sternum straps helped a lot with that, just in terms of comfort. And then the last feature on the inside here is kind of the most exciting, I would say, in the bag is, you can see it fell out, but it's a little spot for a power bank. So it's a designated pocket. You can see their branding here and a little reminder. And it's a fairly large pocket. So I've got my little guy here, and then that pocket there, if you were to have a larger one, there is a little bit of extra space for you if that's what you need. And then what it does is it goes through this little rubberized port on the inside and through the outside. So you can charge your phone just like that. So the one thing I ran into is just cord length. Obviously, this is a regular, iPhone charger. I'll grab my phone out of this main pocket here. This is just a regular iPhone charger. So, you plug it in, you can see it works, and then you can stick it in this pocket. Your bag's all zipped up, you're ready to go, walk around town, and you can charge on the go, which is really, really handy. But I did find that it was kind of messy to deal with all of this cord length. So, what I would do is before I'd even plug it in, I would just go through here and then push it down and then plug it in from there. Obviously, a little bit more coordinated than that. But then I've got a little bit of cable management here. If you wanted to use like Velcro cable ties, you could do that as well, just to make your life a little bit easier. But then it's not, falling all over the place, which is not what you want. But on the inside here, this is the cord that the Ridge actually sent for this specific backpack. So it plugs into this port, kind of like slots in. So I'll show you how it does that. But it just kind of, cable goes through, got a little pocket here, and then there's also a little pocket here as well for cable management. You can see this actually just like ripped off on the side. So, I'm assuming that this is supposed to be, attached here just based off of the fact that you can see where it came apart on the liner. And, I didn't really fuss with it too much. It just kind of happened. So this, it's a little bit tough to get those cords in here. But if you're able to do so, it does keep them out of the way a little bit for you. Obviously, it's not very pretty or clean, but it won't get in the way too much of everything else you have packed in here. Like I showed before, like when I first opened the pack, this can fall out depending on, what you're doing with it. Obviously, I was flipping it all around. So I never really had any issues for day-to-day, but something to keep in mind, it could get loose. And then this cord here, for ease of showing you, I'll unplug that. So this is just kind of a rubber flap. And then there's a plastic hardware in here that's just like this, basically. So you can see it has grooves to it, and those grooves are designed to fit within, excuse me, go back out there. Those grooves are designed to fit within here. You can see like where those two come out, that's where it slots in right here. So you can kind of see it there. So to show you how it goes in, it is a little bit fussy because if you pull the liner one way to get this flap open, it pulls it away from, the area you need it to be in. So a little bit more of a tight design might have been nice. And then you just snap it right in. And then connects up there as well. It's got a little spot for it. And it just kind of hangs out there. So this cable does go up top and then come down. Obviously that's because, it has to have this on the base here to make it more make sense on the outside, but just something to keep in mind. The cord, again, since it's a little bit longer, it is going to fall out a little bit. But I mean, if you wanted to, you could always do it where this here without this cord inserted, it's just, a hole. So essentially what you can do is feed your own through and then plug it in, and it works. But then you have the rest of this empty space, and that's, if you're somewhere where you're going to be around a lot of like dirt and sand, or even just water, really. And the point of this is to kind of keep this bag as secure as possible for that moisture. So something to keep in mind is that if you do decide to just use your own cord here and get something a little bit shorter that fits that length that you need, that is a little bit of an empty hole for you. Overall, it's pretty easy to use, I think, beyond the kind of blemishes that have popped up around, and just there's like a handful of loose threads. You can kind of see this one as well. And I think there was one or two up here, but I might have been imagining that. But, oh, there's one this way. That's what it was. So there's a few things that have come loose, but overall, if you're looking for something that's really, tight and super waterproof for, if you're someone that travels to areas with a ton of moisture, whether that's snow or water, kind of up to you. But it's super functional in that degree. Just a couple design things, and then, getting used to that tarpaulin if that's not something that you've used in the past. So there you have it, the Ridge Classic Backpack. Thanks for keeping it here, Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next video.